The lost legacy beneath the waves. The submerged civilization of Heracleion. A rediscovered legend tells the tale of the underwater metropolis known as Heracleion. While the deep, echoing mysteries of the Mariana Trench continue to highlight how little we know about the ocean's abyss, there exists a different enigma, one that lies much closer to the sunlit surface but is just as captivating. Picture a lively coastal city, its lanes filled with traders, its temples towering with grandeur, and boats gently sailing through crisscrossing canals, until one day the entire city simply vanishes beneath the sea, erased by the passage of time. This is the saga of Heracleion, an ancient Egyptian port that slipped into obscurity for over a millennium. Long speculated to be myth, Heracleion's existence stirred debate for generations. Was it historical fact or mere fiction? Then, in the year 2000, marine archaeologists made a phenomenal find. Heracleion wasn't just a story. It was a real city resting silently below the Mediterranean surface. But how did it become submerged? What ancient knowledge lies entombed beneath the waves? And what can this tale teach us about the fragile harmony between human progress and natural forces? Let's explore this long-lost city and uncover the truths it holds. The Chronicle of Heracleion first emerged as a faint whisper within ancient chronicles. For countless years, it lived more as legend than recorded reality, mentioned in writings by classical historians like Herodotus. These texts spoke of a thriving settlement located near the mouth of the Nile, a bustling confluence of commerce and culture, known to Egyptians as Thonis and to the Greeks as Heracleion. Described as a crucial maritime gateway into Egypt, Heracleion was no ordinary city. Here, Mediterranean traders would arrive, offering tribute to the gods before journeying deeper into the kingdom. The city was famed for its riches and importance, boasting vibrant markets, flourishing harbors, and magnificent temples. Among its most revered structures stood a massive sanctuary honoring Amun-Gareb, a deity venerated by both Greeks and Egyptians. Herodotus called this grand temple the city's spiritual core, a site where solemn rituals took place and people gathered to express devotion. Yet, beneath its thriving exterior, Heracleion harbored signs of unease. Ancient writings hinted at unstable terrain beneath the city, trembling earth, flooding waters, and foundations that quivered under the weight of its buildings. Tales of quakes and rising tides served as harbingers of doom. By the Middle Ages, Heracleion had vanished entirely. Its name faded from maps and memory, leaving behind only myths. Historians debated for centuries, was it merely a fable spun by ancient authors, or had a real city succumbed to nature's fury and been buried under layers of silt and sediment? Meanwhile, the Mediterranean Sea crept inward over generations, slowly claiming stretches of Egypt's coastline. If Heracleion had once existed, many speculated that it now lay deep beneath the ocean's embrace. All that speculation shifted dramatically at the dawn of the 21st century. In 2000, French underwater archaeologist Frank Goddio set out to investigate Egypt's submerged shoreline. Using cutting-edge tools like sonar scans and magnetic imaging, Goddio and his team combed the seafloor near modern-day Alexandria in search of clues. It was a bold expedition, searching for what many believed was lost forever. What they discovered changed history. Lying beneath 30 feet of murky water, concealed beneath decades of sand and marine debris, was Heracleion. Not only was it real, it was far more astonishing than imagined. Visualize diving into the Mediterranean's depths, sunlight dimming above, cold currents swirling, and visibility low. Suddenly, out of the gloom, remnants of stone architecture emerge. For Goddio and his team, it was like walking into an ancient memory preserved in silence. As they carefully unearthed the site, the grandeur of the forgotten city began to reveal itself. The first relics they found were monumental statues, some towering over 16 feet, still bearing expressive features after centuries underwater. Sculpted from solid granite, these figures once adorned temples and public plazas. Now they lay scattered and toppled across the seabed, displaced by whatever cataclysm struck the city. Further discoveries pointed to Heracleion's unusual infrastructure. Built atop islands interconnected by canals, the city resembled an ancient Venice. These waterways enabled seamless trade, allowing ships from all across the Mediterranean to dock, unload, and travel through its markets. Evidence such as stone anchors, boat fragments, and mooring rings supported Heracleion's role as a major seaport and trade hub. Among the most significant finds was the partially preserved temple of Amun-Gareb. This temple wasn't just sacred. It was a spiritual junction for both Egyptian and Greek cultures. As they excavated, archaeologists unearthed grand columns, detailed carvings, and ceremonial treasures, gold amulets, sacred relics, and offerings, illustrating the temple's immense religious influence. But Heracleion wasn't solely a place of worship. It also thrived as a commercial powerhouse. Excavators found coins, trade weights, and merchant records, revealing a city bustling with exchange. Items like precious metals, spices, and fabrics moved through its ports, establishing Heracleion as a vibrant intersection of international trade. Even more touching were everyday objects, pottery, utensils, storage jars, all hinting at daily life. The fishermen, merchants, and families who lived there. These belongings, frozen in time by sediment, offered a deeply human glimpse into a world abruptly halted. As investigations continued, signs began to tell a story of the city's demise. Parts of the site revealed subsidence, gradual sinking caused by the weak, water-saturated delta soils beneath. Combined with rising sea levels and shifting coastlines, this slow-motion disaster likely sealed Heracleion's fate. Other evidence pointed to possible catastrophic events, earthquakes or tsunamis, which may have delivered the final blow. Despite these insights, many questions remain. Was the submergence sudden or slow? How did the citizens respond? What still lies hidden beneath the seafloor? The rediscovery of Heracleion wasn't just a scientific milestone, it was a bridge to the past. Goddio and his team revealed not only the city's splendor, but also its vulnerability. Heracleion's rise and fall highlight the ever-present tension between human ingenuity and nature's unpredictable power. The cause of Heracleion's downfall is still a matter of investigation. The most accepted explanation centers on subsidence, caused by heavy stone structures sinking into soft delta soil. This, combined with sea level rise, would have flooded lower areas and weakened infrastructure over generations. Archaeological finds, including tilted buildings and sunken roads, support this theory. But other researchers suggest a more dramatic end. Perhaps a powerful earthquake or tsunami struck the already unstable city, rapidly accelerating its collapse. The eastern Mediterranean is known for seismic activity, and historical texts mention quakes that rocked the region. A tsunami could have followed, crashing through Heracleion's streets and canals, washing away buildings in minutes. Sedimentary evidence in the region supports this possibility. There are also more speculative ideas. Given Heracleion's religious stature, some wonder if its destruction was seen as divine retribution. Inscriptions reference rituals meant to prevent disaster, suggesting people feared the god's displeasure. Though no solid evidence supports this, it adds a haunting layer of spiritual mystery. Then comes the question of why Heracleion disappeared so completely from the historical record. Was it simply forgotten because it lay underwater, or was its memory deliberately erased? Some scholars propose that political or religious shifts pushed Heracleion aside in favor of Alexandria. The fact that it remained hidden for over 1,000 years raises unsettling questions about how fragile historical memory can be. And much of Heracleion still lies uncharted. The submerged ruins cover over 40 square miles, many areas yet untouched. What further relics lie buried? Entire neighborhoods? Inscriptions? Untold treasures? Every discovery has the potential to reshape our understanding of this ancient metropolis. Heracleon's rediscovery was more than an archaeological triumph, it was a resurrection of the past. For centuries, it lay buried beneath sea and sediment, reduced to myth. But now, thanks to Frank Godio and his team, its legacy has surfaced. The remains, temples, statues, gold and stone still tell their stories. Despite centuries underwater, the craftsmanship endures. Stone engravings, ceremonial jewelry, and ancient records shine a light on the city's religious and economic life. But Heracleion isn't just about its relics, it's about the civilization behind them. Its layout of harbors, temples, and trade routes reveals a culture intricately tied to both nature and the divine. From the grandest sculptures to the most humble tools, each item speaks of real lives once lived. This discovery has also reignited enthusiasm for underwater archaeology. The tools used, sonar mapping, magnetic scans, delicate diving techniques, now set a gold standard for exploring other sunken civilizations. Heracleion is now one of the most monumental underwater discoveries of our time, encouraging new explorations in search of more forgotten cities. Yet its true legacy goes beyond historical interest. Heracleion serves as a reminder of how precarious human achievements can be. The same forces, rising seas, geological shifts, that drowned Heracleion are still active today as we grapple with climate change. Today, Heracleion remains submerged, protected as an underwater heritage site. Divers continue to explore its depths, and museums around the world now showcase its relics. For visitors and researchers alike, Heracleion isn't just a lost city, it's a symbol of perseverance, rediscovery, and the enduring riddle of human history. And as we reflect on the waters of Heracleion, one question remains. What other forgotten cities sleep beneath the sea, still waiting to be uncovered? The vanishing mystery of the MV Joyita, from the underwater marvels of the Yonaguni monument, where ancient wonders rest silently beneath the ocean, we now journey into the vast expanse of the Pacific to revisit a very different riddle, the puzzling tale of the MV Joyita. This was no ordinary disappearance. The ship went missing under unclear circumstances, only to resurface weeks later, deserted and steeped in mystery. What happened to the people on board? Why did it drift hundreds of miles off course? And what traces did this ghostly ship leave behind? Let's delve into the eerie saga of the MV Joyita. In October 1955, the MV Joyita set off from Samoa on what was meant to be an uneventful trip. The vessel, once a luxurious private yacht, had transitioned into a dependable transporter in the South Pacific, ferrying people and goods between islands. But when the Joyita never arrived at its intended destination, an extensive search was triggered. Weeks passed before it was discovered drifting over 600 miles away, abandoned, and offering no explanation. Where had the crew and passengers gone? Why had the ship been deserted despite being afloat? The tale of the Joyita remains one of the sea's most haunting maritime puzzles. Back in the 1950s, the South Pacific was an isolated realm, vast and sparsely connected by sea routes threading through countless islands. For locals, the ocean wasn't just a path. It was the backbone of survival. Amid these wide waters sailed the MV Joyita, a vessel with a colorful past. Built in 1931 as a lavish yacht for a Hollywood filmmaker, the name Joyita, Spanish for Little Jewel, reflected its elegance. But by the 1940s, its charm had faded. During World War II, the U.S. Navy repurposed it for military patrol. After the war, it was sold to civilians and converted into a modest but sturdy cargo ship. Though no longer flashy, it had earned a reputation as a rugged and reliable vessel. By 1955, Captain Thomas Dusty Miller, a seasoned British mariner, owned the Joyita. Known throughout the Pacific for his skill and knowledge of the ocean's temperament, Miller was widely trusted. If anyone could safely command a vessel through these unpredictable seas, it was him. On October 3, 1955, the Joyita departed the port of Apia in Samoa en route to the Tokelau Islands, roughly 270 miles north. It was expected to be a routine 2-day trip. On board were 25 individuals, 9 crew members, 16 passengers, and various goods such as food, timber, and medical supplies for the remote destination. Among them was Dr. Alfred Dennis, a well-known physician headed to Tokelau for a critical surgical procedure, underscoring the voyage's significance in areas where healthcare was scarce and vital. As the ship left Apia, the seas were calm, the weather stable, and there were no signs of trouble. But when days passed without the Joyita's arrival, concerns arose. Initially, radio stations speculated the vessel had experienced a delay, perhaps a mechanical fault or minor navigational issue, both common in those waters. But by the third day, worry mounted. Radio silence persisted, and the Joyita remained missing. Word spread fast. A massive search operation was soon underway. Aircraft and ships combed thousands of square miles between Samoa and Tokelau, but found nothing. No flotsam, no distress call, no indication of a wreck. It was as if the Joyita had simply vanished into the abyss. Then, on November 10th, over a month later, the case took an eerie turn. A merchant ship sailing near Fiji noticed an odd shape on the water. Initially mistaken for debris, the crew soon realized it was the missing Joyita, adrift and deserted, over 600 miles off its charted route. The sight was chilling. Though the Joyita was leaning heavily to one side and partially submerged, it remained afloat, a credit to its cedarwood construction. But the most disturbing detail? There was no one aboard. Boarding the vessel, rescuers found a chaotic interior. Cargo had been strewn about, medical boxes torn open, and bloody bandages left on the deck, yet no clue explained their presence. The life rafts and personal items were missing, as were navigational tools. In the cabin, the radio was still tuned to the distress frequency, but the antenna had snapped, limiting its range to just 2 miles. Help, even if called for, would never have reached them. Adding to the ominous scene, the ship's clock had stopped at 10:25, possibly freezing the exact time when disaster struck. The engines told their own tale. The main engine was inoperative, while the auxiliary engine was shrouded in blankets, suggesting someone had tried to protect it. Despite these issues, the ship was still seaworthy, so why abandon it? Even more confounding was the absence of any logs or documents, no records, no writings, no insights into the crew's last moments. Investigators were left only with fragments, a ghost ship, signs of hasty departure, and no indication of where 25 people had gone. As the Joyita was towed back to land, the enigma deepened. Why would a crew leave a floating vessel behind? Why take the lifeboats and not essential supplies like food and water? And how had it ended up hundreds of miles from its path? Several theories emerged. The most grounded one involved technical failure. The Joyita's main engine was known to be unreliable, and a burst pipe might have caused water to flood the bilge, giving the illusion of sinking. Panic could have pushed the crew to flee, but again, the vessel wasn't sinking, and abandoning it seemed unnecessary. Another hypothesis is misjudgment. In rough waters, even a minor tilt might have seemed catastrophic. Believing the Joyita was doomed, the crew may have decided to escape. But then, where were the life rafts? Why were no survivors or wreckage ever found? There's also speculation of foul play. The ship carried valuable goods, possibly making it a tempting target for pirates. In the 1950s, piracy in the South Pacific wasn't widespread, but not unheard of. Perhaps attackers took the crew, stole valuables, and left the ship. The absence of signs of violence, however, weakens this theory. Some suggest a rogue wave might have struck, flooding the deck and scaring the crew into abandoning ship. But again, the vessel stayed afloat. Why didn't they return? Then there are the stranger ideas. Could the crew have faced something paranormal or inexplicable at sea? Legends of ghost ships and sea creatures persist across generations. While unprovable, they speak to our deep-rooted fear of the unknown. The Pacific's vastness still conceals countless secrets. Ultimately, we may never know the truth. The ocean is unmatched in its ability to erase traces and conceal evidence. Whether the crew died due to dehydration, weather, or internal conflict, the absence of concrete proof leaves only speculation. The story of the Joyita didn't end with its rediscovery. After being salvaged and repaired, it returned to service. But its eerie history lingered. Many sailors refused to work on it, believing it to be cursed or haunted. Some claimed to hear strange noises or sense a presence on board. Whether true or not, these stories added a chilling mystique. Eventually, the ship was abandoned once more, this time intentionally left to decay. The Joyita became a relic, a physical reminder of a journey that ended in mystery. But more than that, it became a symbol of the sea's unpredictability, of the fragile line between order and chaos, and of how some stories remain forever unanswered. For historians, mariners, and mystery lovers alike, the MV Joyita remains a case that defies resolution. A seaworthy ship, deserted. 25 souls, vanished. A clock stopped in time. And no answers. The Joyita's legend is not just about what happened, but about what we may never truly understand. A ghost ship that still drifts through the pages of maritime lore, tethered to the deep's most enduring riddles. The submerged secrets of Yonaguni. In 1986, a local diver near the shores of Japan stumbled upon a baffling discovery: massive stone shapes resting quietly on the seabed. At first glance, they appeared to be the remnants of an ancient lost civilization. Yet, opinions were split. Were these impressive formations carved by nature or the evidence of a forgotten human era? Welcome to the enigma of the Yonaguni Monument, an underwater puzzle that continues to stir intrigue. Our tale begins in the remote, peaceful waters surrounding Yonaguni Island, which belongs to Japan's Okinawa Prefecture. It's the last populated Japanese island before reaching Taiwan, a serene spot, bordered by azure seas and rocky cliffs. Life here flows at a slower rhythm, far removed from the noise of the modern world. But deep beneath its calm, shimmering waters lies a riddle that has puzzled researchers for nearly 4 decades. Back in 1986, local dive tour guide Kiichiro Arataki was exploring fresh locations to entice divers. Yonaguni was already a popular diving haven, famed for its transparent waters and thriving coral reefs. But Arataki was after something exceptional, something that would make Yonaguni truly special. One day, as he was diving along the island's southern coast, he noticed something strange, a dark area on the ocean floor. Curious, he swam downward, and the shadow expanded. What lay before him was astonishing. An immense structure rising from the seabed, sharply angular and perfectly symmetrical. It didn't resemble a natural rock, it looked like the skeletal remains of a long-lost city. Before we proceed, a brief note. Today's video visuals are lighter than usual. This story, and others in the series, took extensive time to research and produce. Feel free to treat it like a podcast. Listen while you work, relax, or let your thoughts drift into the unknown. Visuals help, but they're not required to enjoy this journey. Thanks for watching. Now, back to the mystery. As Dr. Masaki Kimura, a marine geologist, investigated the site, he identified what seemed like intentionally carved features. Broad staircases leading to raised stages, hallway-like passages carved into stone, and holes that mimicked windows or doors. One portion, nicknamed the Turtle, bore a striking resemblance to a sea turtle poised atop a stone base. Kimura became convinced. This wasn't a coincidence of nature, it was evidence of human design. But the mystery deepened further. The monument sat 100 feet underwater. For it to have once stood above sea level, it would have to date back over 10,000 years, when Ice Age glaciers locked away ocean water, lowering sea levels. If that was accurate, the Yonaguni monument would predate all known human architecture, challenging everything we thought we knew about early civilizations. Kimura devoted years to examining the site. On his dives, he found more supporting evidence, stone tools buried nearby, hinting that humans may have crafted the structure. He even reported discovering carvings, patterns etched into the rock that might represent an ancient script. To him, this was no accident. It was the fingerprint of a sophisticated culture that existed long before any recorded history. But not everyone was on board. As the discovery made headlines, many experts raised doubts. Some geologists pointed out that sandstone, the primary rock at Yonaguni, can naturally fracture into straight lines under the right conditions. The shifting of tectonic plates combined with undersea erosion might have shaped the formations into what we see today. One of the most prominent critics was Robert Schoch, a geologist from Boston University. After diving at the site himself, Schoch admitted some aspects were unusual, but argued the majority of the formations were likely created by geological forces, not humans. He believed there wasn't enough solid proof to declare the site a man-made artifact. This launched a fierce debate. Kimura and his allies argued that the formation's design and complexity were too intricate to be accidental. Meanwhile, skeptics pointed out the absence of definitive cultural relics: no pottery, no tools, no bones. Without hard artifacts, they said, the monument couldn't be linked to human hands. Regardless of the argument, the monument quickly became a diver's dream. Adventurers from around the world swam among its submerged stone walls, moving through the ghostly quiet of the deep, surrounded by colorful marine life and timeless mystery. Whether it's the remains of a forgotten society or a stunning product of nature's own hand, the Yonaguni monument leaves visitors in awe. Kimura's theory was audacious. He believed Yonaguni wasn't a standalone formation, but part of a broader complex, with roads, smaller buildings, and even ceremonial structures like altars. In his view, this ancient site could be older than the Egyptian pyramids or even Stonehenge, potentially dating back over 10,000 years. If true, this suggested that advanced civilizations might have existed far earlier than we believed. He pointed to evidence he claimed supported his hypothesis: the tools, the carvings, and sculptures like the turtle. These, he argued, reflected deliberate artistic choices, indicators of a human society with symbolic or religious purpose. To Kimura, this wasn't nature's randomness, but human expression. But the skeptics stood firm. Schoch and other geologists noted that natural processes can create surprisingly orderly structures. The Giant's Causeway in Northern Ireland, for example, features perfectly hexagonal rock columns formed by ancient volcanic flows. The Bimini Road in the Bahamas, once thought to be a submerged roadway, was later explained as naturally eroded limestone. Perhaps the strongest argument against the man-made theory was the lack of clear archaeological artifacts. Kimura had reported finding tools near the site, but critics insisted these could have been carried by ocean currents from elsewhere. Without pottery, bones, or remnants of nearby settlements, the theory lacked firm grounding. At its core, the debate wasn't just about Yonaguni. It was about how we interpret evidence and how open we are to rewriting history. Kimura and his supporters saw the monument as a gateway into a forgotten age. Skeptics urged caution, emphasizing the need for scientific rigor and hard data. If Yonaguni truly is the work of ancient humans, it begs a profound question: who were they? Kimura speculated that it might be linked to the mythical sunken continent of Mu, a lost land said to have disappeared beneath the Pacific Ocean thousands of years ago. Although there's no solid scientific proof of Mu, tales of drowned civilizations, like Atlantis in the west or Lemuria in the east, exist in many cultures. In Kimura's eyes, the monument's shape and tiered layout resembled pyramids and ziggurats from other early civilizations, suggesting it might have served religious or cultural purposes. If true, it would mean our understanding of human development is woefully incomplete. Yet, the skeptics highlighted a crucial issue: there's no known culture tied to Yonaguni. Unlike Machu Picchu or the Giza pyramids, which are surrounded by relics and writings, Yonaguni stands alone. No villages, no inscriptions, no artifacts confirm its creators. Dating based solely on sea level changes is also unreliable. Without carbon-dated items, estimating its true age is guesswork. Still, the fascination with Yonaguni persists. Whether it's a relic of humanity or a geological marvel, it captures the imagination. It invites us to question our assumptions, to wonder what else might lie hidden beneath the waves. Even if the monument is a natural formation, it's no less stunning. Its symmetrical shapes, precise lines, and layered steps look more like sculpture than accident. It reminds us of nature's artistry, the silent sculptor of time, pressure, and water. As you swim around its towering stone features, you can't help but be moved. Is it evidence of an ancient, advanced culture? Or the majestic result of tectonic forces and erosion? We don't yet have a definitive answer. For now, the Yonaguni monument remains an open question, one of the ocean's greatest riddles. A symbol of how much of our planet remains unknown, how many secrets still sleep below the waves. So what do you believe, crafted by ancient hands or carved by nature's force? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And now, let's move on to the next mystery. Challenger Deep, Earth's final frontier beneath the Pacific. Beneath the endless blue of the Pacific Ocean lies a place so deep, so dark, and so remote that only a handful of humans have ever laid eyes on it. Welcome to Challenger Deep, the deepest known part of the world's oceans, hidden within the vast Mariana Trench. This is a story of crushing pressure, mysterious life, and the unrelenting human drive to explore the unknown. Imagine a trench so massive that if Mount Everest were placed inside it, the peak would still be submerged by over 7,000 feet of water. That's the scale of the Mariana Trench, a crescent-shaped scar in Earth's crust located in the western Pacific Ocean. At its deepest point, Challenger Deep, the ocean floor plunges to approximately 10,984 meters, 36,037 feet below sea level. That's nearly 7 miles straight down. The pressure at this depth is a staggering 1,100 times greater than at sea level, enough to crush a human like a tin can. And yet, this very place has become the focus of scientific fascination and some of the most daring missions in ocean exploration. Our journey begins in 1960, when U.S. Navy Lieutenant Don Walsh and Swiss oceanographer Jacques Piccard descended into Challenger Deep aboard the bathyscaphe Trieste. It took them nearly 5 hours to sink to the bottom. Once there, they reported the seabed was composed of a soft, diatomaceous ooze, and surprisingly, they saw a flatfish-like creature. The image of life existing in such an alien environment astonished scientists. But this wasn't just a deep dive, it was a monumental achievement. The Trieste had withstood pressures that could have easily shattered its frame. After only 20 minutes on the seafloor, they began their ascent. For more than 50 years, no human would return. Fast forward to 2012, filmmaker and explorer James Cameron makes history by becoming the first person to solo dive to Challenger Deep in a submersible he co-designed, the Deep-Sea Challenger. Unlike Trieste, Cameron's sub carried HD cameras and scientific equipment, allowing for the most detailed footage and samples ever gathered from the trench. His descent took about 2.5 hours, and he spent nearly 3 hours exploring the seabed. What he found was both eerie and captivating: shrimp-like creatures, strange microbial mats, and signs of life in one of Earth's harshest environments. Despite its remoteness, Challenger Deep is not lifeless. Scientists have discovered extremophiles, organisms that thrive in high pressure, low temperature, and pitch-black environments. Some even feed on hydrogen and methane. elements found around deep-sea hydrothermal vents. One of the biggest surprises? Plastic waste. Even in the deepest recesses of our planet, human pollution has made its mark. It's a sobering reminder of the global reach of our actions. So why do we explore places like Challenger Deep? Beyond the thrill, each expedition expands our understanding of biology, geology, and climate science. These insights may lead to new medicines, materials, and models for life beyond Earth. After all, the conditions in the trench aren't too different from those we might find on Europa or Enceladus, icy moons that could harbor alien life. As technology improves, more missions are planned. Robotic explorers and AI-driven submersibles may one day map every inch of the trench. And perhaps, in time, we'll discover that Challenger Deep holds more than just mystery. It may hold answers to questions we haven't even thought to ask. Challenger Deep is more than the ocean's final frontier. It's a reminder of how little we truly know about our own planet, and how curiosity will always drive us into the unknown, even when the world above seems fully explored.